Hey students, this video is how to take research-based note cards. So please pay attention. We're going to be expecting you to follow all of these expectations. So why are you doing note cards? Well, note cards are an easy way to organize information and to cite your sources. And you may use this method in future classes, including high school and college. It also helps to prevent plagiarism, which means you guys copying word for word everything off of the internet, which we know is a frequent thing that middle school students do because you guys have not learned how to do this properly. So what does a note card or a research note card need to include? Well, the first thing is a source number. You're going to locate a lot of sources to use for all this research for this project, and each of these sources will be numbered, and each note card will have the corresponding source number in the top corner. And we'll show you an example of this in just a moment, so just hang tight. Every single note card needs a topic. These can be found on your rubric, like the inventor's information, why the invention was created, how the invention impacts society today, your social issues, etc. So let me go ahead and actually show you guys one of the topics. You will be getting this, or if you haven't already, this is the recommended topics for your note card. So these are the topics that we're talking about that are highlighted. So the highlighted brief summary of the Industrial Revolution, that's topic number 1. Social issue associated with the Industrial Revolution, that's topic number 2 for a note card. Topic number 3 is name, year, and purpose of the invention. So, purpose of the invention is topic number 4. So you kind of get the gist of that. So the next thing a note card needs to include are bullet points with summarized information. So under each topic, you will create bullet points that contain summaries of what you found in your own words. Now, this is just phrases. These are not complete sentences. And at this point in time, when you are writing information down on your note cards, it has to be in your own words. You cannot write things down word for word from the internet. The last thing on your note card will be the title of the article and web page, not the web link. No one can follow https blah, 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 blah. So let me give you an example. You might find an article entitled Child Labor in the Industrial Revolution, and it's on history.com. So history.com is the source, and Child Labor in the Industrial Revolution is the title. So in getting started, you are going to need to create a source note card, and I'm going to have Ms. Evans take over on this.
So one of the required note cards that you will be producing and turning in as part of your grade will be one in which you identify all of the sources that you use. So obviously, as Ms. Tierney just stated, that the web addresses that many of you are going to use are going to be very long and contain a lot of numbers and letters of the alphabet. So what we want to do is to put all of those sources in one space and assign them a number so that every time you use that source, you don't have to write out the full web address. You simply just have to identify it by the number. So if everyone right now would take out a blank note card, at the very top of that note card, write the word sources, and then every other line, as you can see on the example here, you're going to go ahead and write numbers. And for the sake of, for right now, just put 1 through 5. So pause the video, write the word sources at the top, and number 1 through 5 on the front side of your card, and make sure you skip a line between each one. If you have more than 5 sources, you may need another source card. You might choose to go to the back of your card, but we would prefer that you use the front side only. So once again, go ahead and pause, and let's go ahead and make that source card right now. So now that you have your source card made, we are ready to actually start making the research-based note cards. And what you see on your screen right now is an example of a note card. So we're just going to look at this one. You can see there's topic, there's source number that was assigned from the previous slide. You will see there are bullet points, and in those bullet points, as we've noted, these are going to be written in your own words. So by you taking the information from a website or from a book and putting it in your own words, you don't have to worry about plagiarism later. You'll also see here at the bottom of the screen the title of the article or website. Again, that was not the full web address. It was just the actual title of where this information was found on the name of the article itself. So in this specific example, we'll see source number 1 in the top right-hand corner. So again, that was the first website or book that we found and labeled as number 1 on our source card. So we're simply going to put number 1. The topic that this particular card is going to provide me information about is a summary of the Industrial Revolution. So this was one of the topics that Ms. Tierney noted on your rubric, and it's one of the things that you have to provide information for on your project with your partner. So again, topic is summary of the Industrial Revolution. I'm going to have my bullet points. You might have 2 bullet points. You might have 3. Maybe you have a lot of information and there's only 1 bullet point on this card. That doesn't matter. What matters most is that it's written in your own words. And again, at the very bottom, I'm going to put the title of the article or the chapter or the news link or whatever it might be in which I found this specific information about the summary of the Industrial Revolution. And here in the bottom corner, where it has the 1-1, you can just ignore that for right now. So I'm going to continue this process, and I'm going to do this for all of my topics. So you'll see that in my next example, my topic has changed. I've gone from summary of the Industrial Revolution to now having the topic of a social issue, which is, again, another topic that I need to cover for my project. You'll also notice that up here in the top right-hand corner, my source number has stayed the same. That's because the article and the web link that I use for source number 1 gave me information about a summary of the Industrial Revolution as well as my social issue. So it's okay to use the same source for multiple topics, especially if it's a really good one that's very valid and gives a lot of really good information. So once again, I have my bullet points. I'm writing this in my own words. And then as I just stated, this is coming from the exact same article that I found the previous one from. So my article title will stay the same here at the bottom. Now, whenever you change sources, it's going to be important that you change the source number. So let's compare the slide we just looked at, which was this one, source number 1 about a social issue, to the next. You'll see my source number has changed. This is now source number 2, but it's still about the same topic. So that tells me as a learner, it tells me as a teacher, it tells me as an audience member that, yeah, my person is still talking about the same issue or this concept of a social issue that was important in the time, but they found it from a different source. So you might find there are multiple books or multiple websites that are going to give you information about the same topic, and please feel free to use as many sources as it takes for you to find all of the information that you want to communicate. So again, source number 2. My topic is once again social issue. I have my bullet points that are summarized in my own words, and you'll notice at the bottom the title of my article has changed. That's because it's from a different source. So now this one is called History of Child Labor, and I know that this was the article from this particular source in which I found this information. So now I'm showing you another example. My topic has changed. Now I'm talking about the impact that the Industrial Revolution, or specifically maybe even my invention, had on the early 19th century society. You'll see that I'm back to source number 1. Source number 1 seems to be giving me a lot of information that I think is going to be really helpful for my project. So families were separated, education standards were lower, so on and so forth. Again, these are bulleted things that are written in my own words. What you're going to find next is that, yes, I'm still using source number 1, but the article that I found on source number 1 is different. So an example might be that I was using the New York Times as a source. And New York Times is what I've listed on my source card as number 1. But within the New York Times, there are going to be a ton of different articles that might be beneficial to my project. So as we previously saw, source number 1, the article about the American Industrial Revolution is what I use for some cards. And then I also found another article on the New York Times that was about child labor in the Industrial Revolution. So just make sure that you are keeping track of your article titles and making sure that your sources are accurately labeled, because this is how we're going to prevent plagiarism, and this is how we're going to keep track of all of our works cited.
So I'm sure that you guys have a lot of questions, and these are the most frequently asked ones that we get from students when covering this project. So question 1, is there a required minimum number of cards? Absolutely yes. You're going to have a minimum of 8, including your source card. Is there a maximum? Absolutely not. You can make as many cards as you need. We've had students do anywhere from 20 to 25, and we've had students who've done the minimum of 8. Can I address more than one topic in a source? Absolutely. Just like Ms. Evans stated, you might find that there are just some really good websites and articles that provide you with enough information that it'll cover multiple topics. So you just keep numbering your note cards with the same source number in the top right-hand corner and changing the topic. Am I required to make note cards? Yes, these are a part of the grade for this project, and you will have to turn them in when you go to present. Where will I keep my note cards? So we used to have envelopes provided to the students, and right now we're short on some things. So we may have some envelopes for you. We may have some clasped envelopes from the main office. We may just give you a rubber band or any other method that we can kind of come up with for storing the materials. And then what sources should you use? Well, part of this process involves you learning and practicing finding reliable sources. So we suggest looking for legitimate sources that are credible and not just wikis. And we have create a folder on like our website, not on Blackboard, but on our websites, our team websites, with a list of sources that you might find to be a little helpful. But we do expect you guys to be finding legitimate sources. So that is all, students. Hope this was beneficial and helpful. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask.